to the OIG Roundtable 11. Today is December 5th, and we are meeting again to talk through a few points on the agenda. First and foremost, we had the OIG election conclude last Friday, and we have a new old OIG. Josep made it with a vote count of 34 million WAX. I'm not even sure if I ever saw more than 34 million WAX on a single candidate. The other candidates, thanks for participating in governance on WAX. This is surely an experience for you. And the feedback was mostly you should stick around more often in between the elections and get involved and talk to the guilds, campaign or rally for your beliefs and your term. And you have a chance every second week when the roundtable is. Just get involved and you'll do much better in the next election. Nevertheless, 6 million votes on unders is a good count. There's also NEO's website with some more details on the OIG votes. So, for example, we had 54 individual votes for Josep, 62 individual voters for unders, and 8 voters for Victor Lopez. This, to me, seems a little less than compared to the previous elections. And I think the peak was in January, speaking of individual voters. Good election. We always receive a lot of feedback, especially around the election time. You sometimes have to read between the lines to get the good feedback. But any comment is helpful, like most of the comments, not any comment. So congratulations, Josep. We got you for another 18 months on the OIG. We will shortly announce the next election, which is going to take place in April 2024, replacing the seat which ends in August 2024. Moving on, we have to report a few projects that we are currently working on and where we are focusing our resources on. So on the one side, a WAX developer portal relaunch is needed for technical reasons because the current framework is discontinued. But we will take this chance and continue working on the content and the presentation of the content as such. It is at the moment quite difficult to get the exact information you need. It should be a little bit more self-explaining and most importantly, the entry to what you're trying to do, like build or operate a blockchain node or build contracts or a client for it or interact with the cloud wallet. All of that should be like in terms of a tutorial or described as a tutorial to just get started very easy with WAX. So we're once again working on it. Some guilds are helping with the content. Some other guilds are helping with the tech ops. Thank you very much for your ongoing support for this crucial part of our ecosystem. The one thing I'm going to skip for now is the WAX-RFP system. It's not anywhere close to being discussed in detail, but the general idea or the comments were that we are missing a few funding opportunities that exist on other chains. Take, for example, Pomelo on EOS, which is like a community funding approach. Something very similar is being discussed to happen on WAX. We don't know exactly how it will look like, but I will keep you in the loop for any updates on this matter. And I noted that I want to go through the WAX tokenomics upgrade with you because there was a recent article from the WAX.io, from the WAX team on Medium, which is really nicely explaining the changes. we will get into that at the end of the agenda. Then let's have a look for a second at the network health. Not many rounds were missed during the last 14 days of TechOps. Michael is here. He can probably tell us more about the 2 rounds missed on his side.
Yeah, BV that. It killed it. Like, I haven't seen it online since it went down for a reboot. So I rolled it to the backup, and it's been fine over there. But yeah, she's dead. I think the hard drive finally crapped out.
Did you turn it off and on?
I turned it off. It did not turn back on. Therein lies the problem. So it was a very immediate resolution to, oh shit, all right, back up it is.
Right, unfortunate incident. 2 rounds missed, not enough for a penalty, gladly.
It was Sunday morning. I was getting ready for church.
Right. And other than that, the network health doesn't have anything insightful this time around. Network is running smoothly at the moment. No incidents in the past 2 weeks, no double producing also. We like to see that. Okay, getting into the first topic we need to discuss on the TechOps side. There was an Atomic Assets API incident which brought down all the Atomic Assets APIs across the network. So this incident was a global incident. We saw it resolved in 2 different ways. The one was running a Postgres SQL query on the server itself to enable to fix the marketplace name overflow. The other one was I think just checking out what was then the PR for this fix. This is now all on the main branch in the new release version 1.3.24. We will probably add it to the 5.5 guidelines. So if you manage to fix your issues through updating to the most recent release, you will be fine for the next guidelines. We will announce it anyways until the 15th, I think, where we will require the most current Atomic Assets API version to be run to receive a score. This also holds a global buyoffers, which is a new feature. So make sure to update very soon to enable this feature on your APIs and make it accessible.
Isn't that a atomic market endpoint? I don't know if that's part of everybody's config, or even, I don't think you're required to run the market. We do, but I don't think everybody does.
That's a good point. I will hand the question over to the Wombat representatives. I mean, we can look at the code and see if it is indeed the atomic market endpoint in this case. So there are APIs, and it looks like it is part of the, where is it? Template buyoffers. So to me, it looks like it is part of atomic market, right? Depending on your configuration, you might need to run it or even not run it.
I guess the end result wasn't so much the review of the code. It was more, do you require atomic market, which therefore would be able to need to have that endpoint update, because not all, it's like Hyperion. Not all Hyperions are the same. Not all atomics. When you look at atomic assets, atomic market, atomic, what's the other one?
Assets?
Something. There's 3. You can turn them on or off via the configs.
All right. Thanks for that hint, because I didn't, atomic tools it is.
Tools, there you go.
I overlooked it completely. So it's really only part of atomic market. So until we put it into a requirement, we'll have it clarified if we need this version or if we need only the fix. Okay.
While you're looking at defining that, that's why I just mentioned to you is that if you're going to require and suggest that endpoint work, you're also going to need to require market, which wouldn't be a bad thing, but that's different. I mean, it puts more data in and adds to it, and I don't think everybody does it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just need to add, I just need to quickly add that this is the only meeting that I'm in during the week that while there's a discussion, someone just randomly pulls up the source code and quickly goes through, oh, it's doing this. So I appreciate that, Giannis. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's the best source of information, right?
Everywhere else, we just speculate. Yeah. Everywhere else, we just speculate what's going to be going on.
That's how it started, right? Isn't that part of that?
Source of truth code. Right. What else do we have on the agenda? So Atomic Assets API incident. What's left to discuss is the grace period. So the incident happened on Sunday. Right after it, 2 hours after it, there was a first SQL query to alter the tables to make it work all again. But we have some time difference and so on. So we are going by the guidelines. We wrote a paragraph about the grace period, and in this time it will be 24 hours. We noted it under the section of SLR. So where is it? That's where we explain exactly how the grace period is composed. And in this case, it results in 14 to 15% of uptime added to our sources of validation that we're using. And it seems to us that the issue was resolved in a very timely manner by almost everyone. So not many penalties going on for this incident this month around. While looking at it for the past 14 days, it's also noteworthy to tell you guys that you are doing an awesome job in keeping all those busy APIs up. Because as you can see, there is not a single Hyperion with a significant downtime in the past 14 days. So heads off to you guys. Right. Next topic, which needs to get more attention in the coming weeks because it's close to being implemented and it will be most likely rolled out early next year, the tokenomics upgrade. So let me quickly go through it. There's not much new information about how the staking has worked in the past. This is known to everyone. We were operating on a fixed inflation of 5%. 2% for the top 21, 2% for the voters bucket, and 1% for savings and WAX labs. DeFi was on Ethereum entirely accessible through waxdefi.io. This will get an update pretty surely. So in case you didn't yet, the final Wax DeFi epoch is being distributed in December. So you should claim your outstanding DeFi rewards by then. Or in this article, this confused me, but maybe someone can enlighten me. The DeFi rewards shall be claimed after December 20, right? Because this includes the last DeFi epoch. And then, of course, you should burn your WAX-G. What else do we need to go through?
Well, there's also the liquidity. You don't have to withdraw from the liquidity pool, but it's suggested that you do, because it said in there that it'll be discontinued in 2024. WAX-P to WAX-E. There's a new Uniswap WAX-P to USDT pool.
Right. That's worth a mention, right? So I overlooked that one. The new DeFi will be based on stablecoins, so WAX-P and USDT pool.
It's not a new DeFi, it's just a liquidity pool in Uniswap.
Yeah.
So DeFi is being shut down, and it's they're removing the WAX-E ETH liquidity pool, and they are adding a new WAX-P USDT pool, so it will be easier to get in and out of WAX-P on Uniswap for users.
Right. Thanks for the addition. So going through then let's go through the tokenomics or the major changes briefly. So of course the goal is explained, but let's get into the more important details. We are simplifying the resources, so there will be a transaction fee, and the calculation of the transaction fee is being described pretty extensively on the linked GitHub, which, by the way, also holds all the code for the system contracts that are being developed. There's a PR online that you can check out to see the current state of the implementation. The current tokenomics were a little complicated. You can revisit how it has been in the past. So let's skip that and go to the new tokenomics, including PowerUp. PowerUp is a system utilized on EOS. How it works is you can still pay your you can still have resources by staking WAX. In addition to that, once your resources deplete, you will be able to continue using the blockchain, paying a small fee using the PowerUp system. Those fees will get accumulated into, I shall probably, zoom in, will get accumulated into EOSIO fees, from which the variable inflation will be calculated, and any excess of EOSIO fees, so if EOSIO fees exceeds our 5% inflation target, then the fees get burned, and there will be no new mint of tokens. The bucket is funding then the producers, the voters, and also EOSIO saving with 2%, which is then used to fund WAX labs and the parachutes system on the standby guilds. What's also nice on this article, if you scroll down a little bit on the side, there are dynamic pages where you can test different parameters and WAX prices, for example, and stake and all other parameters involved to get an estimate of how much a transaction to send the token, for example, would cost. And this is the one example. Another one is related to how many resources you get when staking. And this also has a dynamic page where you can test how many transactions, for example, a user is doing per hours and how fast his CPU will deplete, or in this case, how fast he will be at the point of paying transaction fees. Different parameters. I honestly don't understand them all yet, but you can check the article and the linked documents by yourself and get a good picture of what is coming next. So I will share the link in the chat here. I didn't want to confuse you too much with this article, but at some point we need to discuss it and collect some feedback for it too, as early as possible. So let's keep talking about the WAX tokenomics upgrade during the next roundtables and get some good opinions on it. And that's so also this was the PR I mentioned in this case, the PowerUp model contracts developed with it. It's part of the system contracts. all nice and clean, documented. You can get into the course, into the source straight away. And I guess that's it from the official agenda for today. And we can go on to the open agenda. So pick any topic, suggest any topic, and let's get into it. Michael.
I'll go off the previous topic. So you talk about testing and all of this calculation. And I'm assuming there's going to be updates for Wax Wallet to be able to handle whatever new structure and interface is needed for it. When will we ever get Wax Wallet on testnet to actually be able to test? Because we either got to use Anchor or roll it in live. And it's like 7 years.
You're right. This has been requested multiple times
by me
in the past. I can remember that we also talked to the WAX team about it. Soon TM is like the right question. Very good that you bring it up today, because we can talk about it with the WAX team shortly and get back to you with that answer. So the question is, when do we get Wax Cloud Wallet on testnet?
I think it's important. I definitely think when this next bull run's coming, there's going to be more people that are going to keep flooding into the channels and saying, how do I get my Wax Wallet over here? And it's most of the people on this call that are like, yeah, we don't have Wax Wallet on testnet. Mind blown emoji.
True. So we can safely assume that they are very busy working on the system contract, the power up implementation, all that stuff. So speaking realistically, it's not going to happen before January next year. That's for sure. Once we get a good date for that, I will share that with you, of course. Right. Next one. Anything else about the new tokenomics upgrade you want to know, you want to clarify, you want to mention or discuss?
I know that when we did it on EOS, eventually it needs to be mimicked in testnet so people can deal with it. That whatever settings get tweaked, my suggestion is to try to keep that in sync at the system contract level. I'm not even talking about, I just remember when people were flooding into Jungle and remembering we didn't even have it. And then of course there was no interface and stuff for it. So it's a little different, but at the contract level.
Yeah, when they are done, we can push it to testnet.
That's the wax way. When they're done with it on mainnet.
No, but they don't need to deploy it on mainnet. They just need to say, hey, this is what we will deploy, then we can push it for testnet.
Correct.
So how would that flow look like? So once the PR is on main, we deploy it on testnet, right?
We have done similar things like that in the past for upgrades on WAX. Sometimes that communication has failed and suddenly there's an update or a new contract or something new that we are unaware of and have not deployed on testnet yet. But this should not be something that goes hidden or under the bridge, so I think it will be fine.
So if I remember correctly, the last time we did an upgrade on the testnet, this involved you, right? And you did also some kind of review of the contracts
Yeah.
before?
It turned out to be a way bigger situation than anticipated, but it's fine.
It's fine. Okay. Do you mind us creating another group to discuss that and how we can roll it out on testnet?
I don't think I don't think we need another group for it, to be honest. We just need
I
the
second that
information.
motion.
It's just
Yeah,
when the code
let's
is
wait
ready.
to have this conversation with Wax team.
Yeah, when they deem the code ready and say, hey, this is what we're gonna do, then we will just do the same thing on testnet. Yeah. Before mainnet, preferably, but you'd never know with anything.
All right, I get that. I'm just a little bit concerned about the time gaps in between when coordinating something like this.
The WAX team tend to do set up their own private testnets and launch and test their stuff before they do it on mainnet. And what should be done is they should test it, and then we should push it on the public testnet so more people can test and find edge cases, and then deploy it on mainnet. And that's how it should be, and that's how we have had communication in the past. So it should be fine as long as we have the date for when it's going to happen on mainnet. Then we can do it a few weeks before on testnet and go through the code and everything, and then we can bring in more guilds and developers and everything.
All right. Speaking of updates, this is another update which we are pushing back and back. So two questions on my side. If we want to update to a potential version 5, do we need to update to version 4 before?
Is the question, do you need to go through the 4 hop at a binary level? No, I mean, the state changes either. So if you're going 5, you can go straight to 5. I think you can even drag the block log and stuff through it.
Probably helps you.
An RC.
Yeah, but it probably helps you to be familiar with the config 4.0 or something. It's a change from 3.
The conversation I've been having where the next step is documentation wise. If you miss the 4.0, this is what's always been the problem, is that when you miss and go to a next version, there's nowhere other than you want to learn about the new block log trimming, which is throughout the entire 4.0 and now 5.0 series. The only place it's really broken down is the original 4.0.0 release notes where it got it rolled out. And if you don't catch it there and you got to go digging, you lose so much. That's that upgrade matrix that I was kind of trying to bring visibility to what all changes in that version hop. Binary wise, nah, man, you're launching a snapshot, rock and roll. If it doesn't like any of your configs, it's going to shut down and say, nope, need to change something.
Now, well, what it does first is it validates everything, and then it checks if your config is right.
Oh,
so we pushed an issue for them to put the check for the config in the first step, so you don't need to do all the checks depending on how you run the node. That can be an hour or 2 to launch your node, and then you say, hey, config is broken. That should be the first step.
That sucks. I hadn't ran into that yet, but yeah, so that was really the initial, hey, yo, you don't really want to go 5.0 probably for a little while because it's still in RC. It'll take a little while to roll out. I do think it's working very well.
But the big system contract changes are already deployed for the current situation on testnet and mainnet. It's just node things we're talking about, right? Node operation.
Yeah, that's what I assume you're talking about, the binaries for node operation.
Yeah, because the system contract updates, that's already done on testnet and mainnet a while back. We have not replicated the config, the changes on how resources are used on testnet yet. The ones that they are slowly adding on mainnet, but it's not super relevant to push it the same pace on testnet.
You mean the CPU threshold?
Yeah.
Which is being increased, right? I wonder if we should do that on testnet.
Yeah, but it's not super relevant. It's not the same load. We can just hit it at once, and it should be fine in my opinion.
Well, and I mean, CPU on testnets, not mainnet, no. That's ultimately the knob that's kind of being turned. So unless you replicated it, it's the end result, I guess.
So I'd like us to have version 404 at some point and have like a transaction status endpoint, and also, yeah, just
that's what I would say. If you want the new endpoints, you need to require 404 and the configuration of them. When 5.0 comes out, I would definitely suggest that stable be considered as well. It's got new endpoints. It's much better architecture, like for just the API side of things, as I understand. But what's going to happen is anybody who misses the whole 4.0, again, you go 404 right now, you'd completely miss all the block logs splitting into logs anyway, because it's not really mentioned.
We have a potential issue with ship nodes that may or may not be related to the 404 version. We are currently investigating exactly why, but I can trigger a node to essentially become stale and stop participating. And we have found out how we can do it, and we can trigger it. We just need to replicate it and actually figure out, okay, can we do this across other ones? And then we can go, and then I can, no one should have a ship node in public, but I'm sure people have a ship node in public. So if I can do that, then in theory, if that actually is replicable and it's not just an edge case on these devices that I'm testing, then I could potentially stop nodes on other places as well. And that's like, first we validate on ours, and then we validate on another, and then we make sure this is working, and then I do it on EOS USA, and then I ask him if I can do it.
It's wonderful. Hey, I got a GitHub issue where Matthew and I killed their state history. It was atomic indexing that ultimately got mad with it. So check that and see if it has anything to do with it. I'd have to dig up which one, but
yeah, if I've you done can link before. It to me, that's perfect.
Where it just stops. Anyway.
Interesting. So both of the changes that may be part of 5.5, I just put now in brackets because it's still unsure if we need to roll those out because of atomic market, for example, and we don't require atomic market at the moment. And version 404, because we still might have some issues that need to be resolved or investigated before we can safely roll out this version on the API nodes.
I'd say both have the new requirement for the endpoints, which then therefore that's where that version comes in. But I don't know if there's a whole different conversation or comment about that. But if you require the new API endpoints and give people the configs, then yes, 404 with all the public API endpoints would be great. And I think if you want standardization, everybody should have to offer the atomic markets. And if you do, now everybody has the atomic market templates that are fixed. And Null can have his consistent experience throughout all of his round robins.
So sometimes we are not really consenting about standards inside the OIG.
Yeah, but when you define a minimum, that's what drives the default configs. Because, I mean, you want 6 weeks worth of history? Guess what the default is for the configs that people ask for? You know, those types of things. So.
Nevertheless, the time the snapshot for tech evaluations where this will get used the first time would be 16th of January. So over a month and a week, if we opt to implement to require this version? Is this like a realistic time frame to accomplish this update? How do you, so
I'd
just
say
your
yes
opinion
on
on
the
this?
blockchain node. I would say the AP, if you like start requiring the market for atomic, that in itself could require some people to have to do some heavier re-indexing because they don't have that data, right? The stuff that would be referenced in the 404 whatever would definitely be easier. You just got to go through and do them. And it doesn't require any extra hardware, really, right?
I actually thought we were meant to be on 4 already. I just thought, didn't we go through this process like 6 months ago? We all like agreed to upgrade.
I don't disagree. I know we mostly did a big push of it. I don't know if this is the requirement for it.
So we had this always to investigate this issue with state history nodes. I think that has accompanied this journey for the past 6 months, that we are just unsure that any other component could or will break if we update to 404.
Sure, shit's still got to break. Anders is still breaking stuff, but eventually we got to push him off the ship because guess what? The 5.0 ship's coming up on our ass pretty quick.
Do you happen to know any planned release for version 5 on EOS on Envelope?
RC3 should drop, I think, this week, right, Ross? I
mean, yeah.
We're entering holiday season, but I think they're mostly finding what big could be blown up has blown up, fixed, and probably stable next year.
I think we're all gonna be running it just by the by, right? Over the next few months, running it back in production, I think.
Yeah, I would expect like a stable release.
Yeah, there's no hard fork. There's no hard fork or anything like that.
There can be, but
there's not going to be.
We have plans on it. Well, the BLS I think is a forking activation. So, or if somebody uses it, but as long as we don't activate the whatever intrinsics, that feature, it will be an optional or an optional upgrade. And potentially those of us that like sailing at the beginning of the pack will be probably starting to roll it out to production front ends as early as the beginning of next year. I know I'm rolled it pretty quick.
Yeah, I'm running it on Jungle and Kylan.
We have RC2 on Jungle. I haven't rolled Kylan. I'm waiting on RC3. But again, that's nothing. That ain't wax, yo.
No.
Nor should Stan be merging it at this point. I mean, let's wait until it's stable, and then a day or two later, Stan will probably roll it, unless it's on Christmas. And then as soon as it's a stable release on a wax branch, those of us that do it will probably start doing it.
We'll do it on testnet first, right?
Maybe.
So do we overcomplicate things if we require version 4 now and 1 or 2 months later we roll out 5? Can we skip 4?
Well, I suppose, but 5 might only be in 6 months' time that you actually roll it out.
I would say you're not going to require 5 for at least 6+ months, maybe even longer, until you're, either really need it or whatever.
We should all be running on 4
at this point.
Yeah, we should be running on 4. Everybody should be running on 4. It's
even just the peering and the whatever to deal with trash and the new subjective billing. I mean, for public nodes, again, if you want to run your own bastardized version of 3.1, long as it can, go for it.
We have issues with 404 and we still run 404 on public nodes, but not on all of them.
So this is still a puzzle for me.
You can request the new endpoints, and people should have them. It's not strange. They just need to also have nodes that are not on that version that they can fall back on. And they should be able to set up some kind of load balancer that can say, hey, this request is coming, it should go to these nodes. It's not that... it shouldn't be complicated if they are running APIs for people.
Okay, so
it should probably be feature related. Your APIs need to respond to these calls. Right. This one, this one, this one, this one, this one.
Right.
Yes. Do what you got to do to make sure that it responds to that.
Yes.
And then when you test it, you're testing to see if you can get that data back. Whatever they've got in their mystical backend, could have 100 nodes sitting behind a load balancer. Who knows what's responding to what,
right. Because when you argue over the version, that's really, you should be running it, in my opinion, but obviously, fine. We've all got our experiences. Yeah. That's why I kept saying require those new transaction endpoints and require, atomic market endpoints, and that will ultimately drive your mechanism. And remember, whenever they say, okay, I've got to turn these configs on, and they have all sorts of little knobs, my suggestion, and normally y'all define this by like minimum.
Turning them all on.
Yeah, it's this feature enabled. Does it remember to retry transactions one time, or does it remember transaction history for 1 hour? There's certain little knobs that fundamentally people aren't going to really tweak those unless you're Anders and they just do those types of things. Just tell them that you want this at least, and that'll ultimately mean they have to go to the latest version for at least to provide the experience that's needed, right? Nobody realizes they're using donkey nodes over in Sweden because they just work, right?
Plenty donkeys and potatoes in the US.
Yeah, there's the potatoes behind it.
It's moose,
potatoes, man.
Elks,
they got
not donkeys.
Elk, I would say that's much more relevant. Anyway, but push transaction 2, isn't that uniquely what it is? And get transaction status. I think, aren't those the 2 endpoints? I don't know. I only know them by their configs.
Yeah, my head wants to say 3 new endpoints, but I don't remember them. It might be 2, but I asked.
Those are the 2 features, that's the retry and then the transaction status, right? Or maybe that's, I don't know. I'd have to look it up. I got the configs. What tab's that on? Anyway, because that's your end game. You don't really care what elk or potato they're running. You more care that null gets a consistent experience, that, damn, at least all these new tools that are out there are there.
Right.
My boy, Blue.
Right. So, okay. Summing up, the feature-based or endpoint-based, feature-based approach, we were going with Chain API. That's something to consider. But when we do this, it's like we indirectly force version 4 because there's no way around to get those features up. I think that's a good thing to stick with. We don't have anything for atomic market yet. If we, yes, we have, or is this new? I'm not sure. Because it's green, but the mandatory endpoints market seems seems like a new addition. It might have been added right now. But that's where we potentially would require atomic market, right?
This has always been there
for
a long time. So we always had as a requirement for Atomic Assets API, both assets and market.
Okay, that's good.
I think only in the first or second version when we added it, we did not actually know it was one API. And we had a guild running only Atomic Market, trying to claim the Atomic Assets points. And then we said, okay, let's bundle this into one. But this might have been actually been before your time.
All right. Atomic tools. Do we need atomic tools? Probably not, right?
I don't know.
I just leave it, they're there. Like I say, I haven't ever really noticed them being the problem. But like I say, market is definitely. Do y'all, hey, Kafer, do y'all test the market endpoint? I know obviously we run automated tests for asset.
We don't.
I know I've seen it. Null. I mean, you may know offhand. I don't want to put you on the spot for Santa's naughty list, but I think I remember that being reported. Right?
I'm not sure. It was in the tests back in the day. I'm not actually sure if it still is. It might not be.
Yeah,
It's still a good catch.
He's saying, and I mean, I agree that the asset, the core asset namespace and API should be there. Atomic market being optional. If you want to run it, fine, run it. Maybe you get some points for it. Just saying. And atomic tools is WTF too. Rarely used outside of atomic.
Something to discuss really in the office. Include null is writing. Atomic assets namespace should be mandatory with atomic market optional with like an additional point or something. Atomic tools is rarely used outside of atomic. I have a monitor which shows that which namespace each API has. Thanks. Awesome. Let's see. Let's see.
Where am I? Did I fail?
Where are you on that?
I don't see. Oh, there I am. I'm down at the bottom. I forget. I think it's randomized. I don't know.
Oh, you're on the wrong version.
Which one? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3?
No, 1322.
That's up there in the corner. That's the custom one. I got the hotfix, baby. I should get bonus points
for living on the edge.
My shit was down. My people needed their atomic back, and all right. So I upgraded some of them with the manual fix, and then I left one and that one actually is the public one. There's only one of them that's running that version.
I did the manual fix.
The other two would actually be the old version, but you're right. Look at me. I'm different.
Basel is usually around, but not today. Let's give him a heads up that his atomic market endpoint is not enabled, and he's the only one. I guess not the only one. EOS Dublin and Nefty Guild is also missing the atomic market.
I mean, in all fairness, that makes kind of sense.
They come up in this table when they are picked up on EOS Nation. I think it says it at the top there. Noel's got it so that it pulls the available endpoints. So if the service is down, it won't even come up on this table.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so that was the whole point, is that, hey, by the way, some atomics are different.
So I guess 1.3.21 means that the manual fix has been applied since there is no documented downtime on the API anymore.
Yeah, if they're behind, they would have.
Either that or they hacked over it. Yeah, I mean, one way or the other, they got around it.
I also installed PG admin. I never actually used it before. I was down for an extra 10 minutes while I was figuring out how to have an external connection to the Postgres. It wasn't like in a single place. I had to go and change a few configs. I got PG admin running now. Oh, yeah. Well done.
So the validation core is a little slow today. But yeah, thanks noting, very helpful tool. Thanks include. I didn't even know that exists.
Yeah, that's very well
done. Great. So Atomic Assets API kind of sorted. few guilds affected with having to upgrade or having to enable atomic market, right? Other than that, most guilds wouldn't fail on atomic market, and atomic tools isn't used outside of atomic assets include node, so we don't need to really need to require this one. Okay, so we had some criteria marked in orange still. IBC. Any input from your side on hosting, running IBC on your infra? Anything you want to share with us? Is it running? Do you have any any complications?
It's been running. I was looking to see if I could see how many times it's been hit. Not many. I mean, a dozen in what, a day, 2 days. So I mean, it's got use, but I don't know how many people are. I can tell you, I don't know how many people are swapping between EOS and WAX because there's not much liquidity. You could do some damage pretty quick over there. So,
which is the contract name?
They've got a bunch of dots in them. I don't know. I'll have to look it up, but I think it's IBC.WT dot something, right? I don't know.
IBC.W. Let's see. I need the contract name for a second. Let's have a look at the activity.
Yeah, they're all kind of the same, like, but there's one for each of the bridge token contracts. I don't know. I mean, Alcor is probably the one that does all the transactions. But I don't know. They use different nodes.
So, okay, there are like a few proofs a day happening, like 1 to 20. Weird range. What's the difference between check proof B and check proof C or D?
I know there's like heavy proofs and light proofs. I don't truly know the big difference between them. I mean, other than the way it uses like the full block versus a, pre-computed hash or something like that. I don't, there's 2 ways that you can actually do these proofs between the chains. And they're heavy proofs and light proofs. I don't know if that's directly it, but the API just does its thing, or I guess it's a WebSocket. But
so check proof B is like the commonly used action. Usage is not too high at the moment, right? Like 1, 2, 3, 4 bridges a day, something like that. Some peaks in between. It's not sorted by day, so sorry, sorted by day now. Okay, it's picking up in transaction.
But really, the use cases need to be built on it, right? I mean, I can tell you, most people don't even know it still truly exists, but I mean, it's designed. You have to kind of, you're not just gonna have everybody signing up and being able to use it right off the bat, but that functionality does exist to be able to go between chains. I think like even atomic assets, when you get up to that point.
Okay, something to observe. So no further input on IBC, right? At the moment, at least. If you have any findings on that side or anything you want to share, please keep us in the loop, Michael, and everyone else running it. And I guess that's it for today from the official agenda side. Of course, you can still stick around and talk through whatever you want to. Shall I pull up the agenda bingo again? I guess we don't need that this time around. Anyways, thanks for joining. And next week, don't forget, we are having a fun roundtable on the new VR platform that CryptoLines launched. That's going to be a fun experience. I hope you all find some time to attend and have an awesome experience. And of course, have a nice day and night wherever you're from.